Joined by Awol Allo, a lecturer at Keele University, specialising in human rights and international law. Good to speak to you. So why is this significant and a huge deal for Ethiopia?
This is certainly a very significant move for the Oromo politics and also Ethiopian politics, provided that the party and the new prime minister would implement sweeping radical reforms that are called for by the Oromo people and also the broader Ethiopian public. So the party that put Abiy Ahmed forward, which is the Oromo People's Democratic Organization, and also the party that governs the region, which is the epicenter of the protest movement that is responsible for all these changes that we are talking about at the moment, has been implementing reform agendas at the regional level. They also seem to have a very bold and positive vision for the broader Ethiopian state. So the election of Abiy Ahmed would create an opportunity to roll out that glimmer in regional states.
So the country has been under state of emergency. Is it now going to be relaxed? And also, what's next for Ethiopia?
The new prime minister will not be able to implement any reform agenda while the state of emergency is hanging over his head. He seems to be against the state of emergency because he didn't vote for the state of emergency. The party that put him forward, the OPDO, overwhelmingly voted against the state of emergency. And frankly, there is no constitutional basis for this state of emergency, and it's simply counterproductive and simply, I think, counterintuitive for the government to impose a state of emergency while at the same time promising to widen up the political process and foster national consensus. So if the new prime minister is to maintain the confidence of the people and also the confidence of a range of political actors within the country, it is important that he starts with lifting the state of emergency as soon as possible. While the state of emergency is in place, the whole idea of reform is simply unthinkable.
And how are the Ethiopians feeling about this change? Do they have trust in him?
I think most Ethiopians are cautiously optimistic, and he is probably the only candidate among those on the ballot that seemed acceptable to most Ethiopians. He is known to be pretty technocratic, ambitious, and also very bold in terms of challenging government policies even in the past. We don't know much about him, but there has been, I think, enough in the public discourse in terms of understanding the kinds of change that he might be able to implement. But I think it's important to note that while he is willing to carry out reforms, these reform initiatives can be and by the security forces whose interests would be affected or whose influence would be undermined if these democratic reform agendas are implemented. But given the landslide with which he was elected, he does have a very clear democratic mandate, a strong democratic mandate, which gives him a space for maneuver in terms of implementing and pushing these reform agendas through.
Many thanks for that.